Work with me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna try to get this Instagram and then we're gonna go for it. Okay, today is Friday. Come on, press the button. Yeah, press the button, press the button, press the button. Excellent. We in there? There we go. Okay, good morning everybody. Today is Friday. Happy Friday. All right, I am your instructor, Pierre Hui, aka Mr. P. The P is for patience. Today we are here for the Barber Practical study, public study. Okay, like I said, anybody that's new to the channel, what I tend to do, well, first of all, for anybody new to the channel, I help people pass their barber exams. That includes the theory and the practical. All right, my state is South Carolina, and in South Carolina, for you to be able to get your barber's license, you have to pass 2 exams. All right, you have to pass the barber theory exam. You have to pass the barber practical exam. I can help you with both. Now, that being said, really quick, I use this channel to do public study where we go over things in general. And then I have a paid class where we go over everything that in a more focused manner. We go over more pertinent material. We go over what I like to call high percentage concepts, which have a 75% chance or higher of you being able to see it on the let me say it again. You know, sometimes I get wrapped up around my words when I go live. All right. High percentage means there's a 75% or higher chance that you will see this material on the test. That is reflected in my paid classes, which are called Past Barber Theory and Past Barber Practical. If you need to get a hold of those paid classes where you pay money for them, you can find me anywhere on all social media at Pierre Hui. Pierrehouey on all social media platforms, etc., etc. All right, that being said, corresponding to the days of the week, you got for the barber theory, you got 4 domains, and then on Fridays I talk about the practical. Okay, so next what I'm going to do, anybody that's following me on StreamYard or Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, I'm going to pull up this CIB. If you don't know what the CIB stands for, it stands for the Candidate Information Bulletin, where they break down the things that they're looking for that you will see on the tests, on the exam. That way, you're not just aimlessly doing studying, just random studying, and then by the time you get to the end of your studying, you forgot everything, right? Meaning, let's say you started at chapter 1 and you went chronologically all the way to chapter 23, all the way to page 830 of the Milady Barber book. You go through this whole book and then you get to the end and you forgot everything at chapter 1. All right. That's not an effective way of studying. So what we do is when we go on the CIB and we talk to you about the CIB, as your instructor should be talking to you about anyway as a barber student, the CIB, like I said, it's a guideline and it gives you a lot of things that are more pertinent and relevant to what they're looking for on the test. Okay. Now, a lot of people, a lot of students, I found out, they don't even know what the fuck a CIB is. Oh, excuse my language. PG-13. Okay. Yeah, I got my one out. But pause. I got my one. So CIB is probably the most fundamental thing you should be aware of, even before how to cut hair, how to do this technique, how to do that technique, etc., etc. If you are a barber student, if you are a esthetician student, if you are a nail tech student, if you're any of these students for these services that you have to take this test to pass and get your license, well, guess what you think what would you think the most important part of all of this would be? Do you think it's your ability to do nails? Do you think it's your ability to do hair or to cut hair? Not if you can't pass this test and get your license. So you got to be in a position to pass your test and get this license. So guess what? Why don't we deal with the hardest part first? And then the more you study the CIB, the more familiar that you get with the CIB, you're going to find out none of this stuff is that complicated. Even scientific concepts, even things dealing with chemistry and electricity, anatomy, physiology, you think it's tough. You think it's tough tough to understand, it's not even that bad, especially when you have the CIB that says, look, we're only looking for anatomy pertaining to the head, face, and neck. So now you ain't got to worry about the calves and the knees and veins and arteries supplying the heart and all that stuff. We're not worried about that. We're looking at it from the scope of barbering. Okay. Same thing with the practical. All right. Now, that being said, I am a good resource to have, especially if you are following me. So make sure you follow me on all social media platforms. Pierre Huey, Pierrehouey. Okay. Particularly YouTube, because YouTube, you can see all this stuff. What's up, Season? How y'all doing? Look, I got my digital products coach up in here. All right. So she's one of the main reasons that I do this on a regular basis. So you guys need to go ahead and go say hello to Season Bennett. Not only that, sign up for her digital products course so you can be one of my classmates, and we can do this all the time and we can collaborate. All right. That being said, barber style and practical examination content domain sections. All right. I talk about all the time. You have two in South Carolina that you can do. You can either take the registered barber, or you can take the master hair care. Registered barber has 5 sections. Master hair care has 9 sections. I'll tell everybody, go ahead and take the master hair care, because the master hair care has everything. You're in a position to do everything and go anywhere and apply your trade. And what I mean by that is, you don't just have to, if you're a registered barber, you can only be in a barber shop. Most states. Some states are trying to change that, but still, the majority of states in the U.S., if you have a registered barber, you can only be in a barber shop. If you have a master hair care, you can be in a barber shop, you can be in a salon. It don't matter. They're not going to fault you for anything. They ain't going to have a problem with you applying your trade and using chemicals. They're not going to have a problem with any of that, because that'll be what your license is for. And by the way, in South Carolina, after 3 years, you're eligible to become an instructor. Well, if you are a registered barber, you can only teach registered barber. If you are a master hair care, you can teach master hair care. You can teach all of those different things. Okay. You can teach things with chemicals and all that stuff. Well, guess what? That increases your value as an instructor. All right. Now, let's talk about what you're going to see when you take the master hair care. Oh, wait, let me back up. All right. So the only difference between a registered barber, as far as the practical, the only difference between a registered barber and a master hair care, 4 sections, the chemical sections. These are the 4 sections that scare everybody, right? But I want y'all to see something. I'm going to zoom in too. All right. Chemical waving, 20 minutes. Predisposition test, strand test with simulated product, 10 minutes. Chemical relaxer, virgin application, 15 minutes. Hair color retouch, 15 minutes. Okay, so that's 15, 15, 30. Then that's 40. All right, so you got an extra hour, right? You got an extra hour of processes. It's just 1 hour, y'all. So you telling me the difference between you doing a registered barber and a master hair care, to where you have all these new options, all these other options, is 1 more hour of processes? You're going to let an hour stand in your way of having I would say a master hair care license is like a barber license squared, right? You're going to let that stand in your way of all the other possibilities that open up when you have a master hair care. You got to go in for this test anyway. And by the way, let's talk about this one. Predisposition test and strand test with simulated product. Aside from number 1 and number 3, which ain't nothing but preparation. Aside from that one, this one is your next easiest one. If you looked up what predisposition test is, it is testing the skin to make sure that you don't have any allergic reactions to chemicals. You're testing the skin. Strand test is you're testing the hair to see if it has any problems with any chemicals. It is the 3rd easiest one out of all of these. Okay. Next, Chemical waving is probably your toughest one because most barbers are not familiar with the procedure and all of that stuff. But what they're asking for, 20 minutes is a lot of time for what they actually need. Like, I've seen people, once they practice this enough, they can probably do the chemical waving section in probably 10 to 12 minutes for what they're asking for. I've seen it time and again. And matter of fact, when you take the practical, you're going to be in there with other people. You're going to see some of these people get done so fast because they're just used to rolling, right? Don't take that the wrong way. All right, so you're taking the section, you're taking the permanent wave rods, and you're combing the hair, and you roll it down, and you clip it off. Either you clip it off, or they have clips on the rollers that you use that you just snap it in place, right? And you do that for one section of the hair. You ain't even got to do the whole section, okay? Now, I just talked to y'all about two of those. Chemical relaxer, hair color retouch. Both of those take practice. But again, they are only looking for one quadrant. They're only looking for one section. They're going to have you break it down into 4 sections. They only want you to do 1 out of the 4 sections. For the chemical relaxer, 1 out of the 4 sections for the hair color retouch. And that's something that's as easy as, well, either you can check it out in the class that I'm going to do, which will be available very soon. It will be available Black Friday, by the way. All right. And until then, if you just need to see an idea of it, you can Google or YouTube both of those. It's plenty of content out there where you can see an example of it. Now, in my class, what I'm going to do is just break it down a little bit more for South Carolina standards, because South Carolina got certain subtleties in what they expect. But again, it's reflected in the CIB, which we're going to talk about some more. But all right, now that being said, let's go through all of these. Let's talk about it. The scope of the National Barber Styling Practical Exam includes 9 core domain sections. I'm talking about the core domain sections for South Carolina. Stay tuned where I do check out CIBs for other states. I've had requests now, and that's something that I want to incorporate as well. So stay tuned for that. The core domain sections based on the National Job Analysis. All right. 1, work area and client preparation. Setup of supplies. First client, 10 minutes. Number 2, hair cutting, 40 minutes. That one takes the longest, hair cutting. All right. 3, work area and new client preparation and setup of supplies. Second client, 15 minutes. 4, shaving with a straight razor, variable timing. So what that means is the proctor is going to give you directions. You follow the directions to what they say. All right. And it will be different times. Like you can't expect it to be 10 minutes or 8 minutes or 12 minutes. It comes down to whatever the proctor tells you to do, however much time that takes. That's what they mean by variable timing. All right. 5, blood exposure procedure, 10 minutes. 6, chemical waving, 20 minutes. 7, predisposition test and strand test with simulated product, 10 minutes. If it's 10 minutes, don't be scared of it. That means it's a simple process. Okay. 8, chemical relaxer, virgin application, 15 minutes. Number 9, hair color retouch application, 15 minutes. Those are the core domain sections. It's pretty much all the steps for each section. Yeah, they do. Renegade, they do. The only thing is, depending on your state, you have certain things that they want to see for them, and you have to be prepared for them. Okay. Now, with that being said, let us talk about the first section. All right. We're already at 15 minutes. Like I said, I'm gonna keep it short. I ain't trying to talk your ears off on this Friday. All right. Content domains. Number 1, work area, client preparation, setup of supplies. It is 10 minutes. All right. Here's what the proctor is going to tell you. You will prepare your work area for your client. You will set up universal supplies. You'll set up supplies for hair cutting. You'll prepare your client for services. You will be expected to follow all client protection, safety, and infection control procedures. You will have 10 minutes to complete this section. You will be informed when you have 5 minutes remaining. Do not demonstrate any procedures until the verbal instructions are given and you are instructed to begin. Step back to indicate you have finished. The instructions will be repeated. They're going to say all this again. It behooves you to listen. Here's why I say that. You'll have 10 minutes to complete this section. You will be informed when you have 5 minutes remaining. They're going to tell you you have 5 minutes remaining. They told you in the directions, in the verbal instructions. So they don't want to hear later on, oh, I didn't hear. You didn't tell us we had 5 minutes left. You didn't tell us we had 2 minutes left. Whatever in the verbal instructions, you have to pay attention to. They're going to repeat the verbal instructions twice. So you can't say you didn't hear it. So if they say, all right, instead of 5 minutes, they're going to tell you you have 2 minutes. Well, you should have been listening when they told you the verbal instructions. So when you look at the proctor crazy and be like, no, I didn't hear that. They're going to look at you. They're going to look back at you crazy. They're going to say, look, we said everything we needed to say in the instructions. Were you not listening to all of them? Because a lot of times, the first time the proctor goes through these, nobody's listening. That sounds crazy, but you will see it. So make sure you're listening. All right. And then again, let's talk about these. First of all, you'll prepare your work area for your client. That is the first thing. So prepare your work area. If they come to you and they say anything different, that's when you do something different. But when they say you will prepare your work area for your client, they expect that to be the first step. You are cleaning off your table. You are either using like disinfectant wipes and things like that. They want to make sure that you're doing that. They want to make sure that you're going in your bag and you're finding all the things that need to be on your work area. They're looking for that. If you go out of order and you say, all right, well, now I'm going to set my mannequin up first. Not if the verbal instructions say you will prepare your work area for your client first. Good morning. How you doing, Brittany? If y'all are not following my wonderful friend Uni No Corn 85, go follow her right now. She is an amazing stylist. Okay, especially when it start coming to them twists and them dreads and all that good stuff. Go follow her right now. All right. You will set up the universal supplies you will use throughout the examination. That means when you set up the universal supplies, don't put them back up. They will take points off for you putting things back up. All right. Meaning you have your bag. They're going to have you put that bag on the floor. You're going to unzip your bag from the floor, open it up, get your universal supplies out. When you take the universal supplies out and you put it on your work area that you are preparing in step 1, leave it there. Do not take the universal supplies and put them back. I've seen all of this, y'all. Do not take the universal supplies and put it back in the bag. I promise you they will take points off, if not just send you home. I've seen it. You will also set up supplies for the hair cutting section of the examination. It don't get more self-explanatory than that. You will also set up the supplies for the hair cutting section of the examination. So what do you have to do after you prepared your work area? You cleaned it off. You got the universal supplies. Then you can get the supplies for the hair cutting. That's your mannequin. If you need to set up your stand, if you need to set up your clippers and all that stuff. Okay, you are setting all of that up. And by the way, make sure your clippers are corded. You cannot use cordless clippers. Don't even take the ones that's got the detachable cord. Don't even take those. Don't even take those. Sometimes the cord part of the cordless will pop out. You're in the middle of a haircut. Next thing you know, just assume when you're doing the practical, anything that can go wrong will very, very likely go wrong. So if you have cordless clippers that got the charger that you can plug into it, plan on it popping out. So don't even take them. Take corded clippers. All right. Also, your trimmers, if you take trimmers with you, make sure they are not modified. So I got a bunch of trimmers. I got one pair that I don't modify, that I haven't cut off or sawed off the top and all this stuff and got the blade exposed. Do not take those either. They will take off points for that. All right. Next, you will prepare your client for services. That means putting the cape on, well, I like towels because right now in South Carolina, you're using mannequins for this. It used to be you would use an actual human for this, but now you're using mannequins. I don't know if that'll be something that they'll change, but it never hurts to call State Board and ask them. All right, just to make sure. All right. You will be expected to follow all client protection, safety, and infection control procedures. All right. You will have 10 minutes to complete this section. This is just the setup. You will be informed when you have 5 minutes remaining. Do not demonstrate any procedures until the verbal instructions are given and you are instructed to begin. Now, here's why this is this step has a hidden level of importance. Here's what I mean. You have people now, this particular instruction follows every section. So if you are doing the shaving section, don't start the shaving processes until you are instructed to do so. Don't start haircutting processes until you're instructed to do so. Here's why I keep saying this, because if you do, they take off major points for this, because that's showing them already that you don't know how to take instruction. You don't know how to follow instructions, but mainly you haven't studied these instructions. All right. It is up to your instructor. It is up to somebody like me to make sure we go over this so many times till you're blue in the face and you understand. Okay. Word to Lethal Shooter. Shout out. All right. And another thing too, this is something where so certain steps, they're looking at you and saying, all right, they're showing me already that they're not gonna, they can't follow directions. So they'll put a direction like this in there. All right. Do not demonstrate any procedures until the verbal instructions are given. And here's the thing. If you start, somebody might stop you and just be like, hey, don't do that yet. But guess what? They'll still take off points. You thinking they done done you a favor. Nah, they done took off the points first. And then they come to you and say, hey, don't do that. Don't do that. It ain't time to do that. Right? You have to be on alert at all times that they're taking off points. So that just goes to my theory that they give you a certain amount of leeway and then they take away from it. But, you know, the jury's still out on that one. All right. Step back to indicate you have finished. The instructions will be repeated. You may begin. All right. Now, we just went through the processes. This is a 10-minute process. And another thing, too, that time goes a lot faster than you might think it does. You might think, oh, OK, I got plenty of time to set this up. Next thing you know, they telling you, they like, yeah, you got 5 minutes left. And you're just like, wait a minute. All I did was just unzip my bag. So just make sure you have everything packed correctly before you even get up in there. So your universal supplies, universal supplies is things like having extra combs, extra brushes. I tend to put a roll of paper towels. I tend to put paper towels in there. Paper towels is like it's a universal lifesaver for that test. So take you a roll of paper towels. Okay. Gloves, disinfectant wipes, hand sanitizer, all of the stuff that you're going to be like, all right, I'm going to use this throughout the whole exam. Put those in your universal supplies. And as a matter of fact, if you truly study in your CIB, they have a whole list of recommended supplies that you should have that you should be using, that you should have on hand to be able to use. Okay. All right. Candidates will be evaluated on the following tasks. We're going to talk about this, and this will be our Friday. Okay. 1.1 disinfects all work areas completely with product label in English as EPA registered hospital grade disinfectant. Let me do y'all a favor. Just get the Barbicide wipes, because it satisfies all of that, right? If you get some of these disinfectants, they don't have all this on the labeling. So just get the Barbicide. It'll save your life. Pay the money, pay the extra money to get some Barbicide wipes. They a little bit more expensive. Pay the money, okay? 1.2, sanitizes hands with product label in English. Guess what I do when I get sanitizers, right? I get a hand sanitizer that has the product label in English that says hand sanitizer. And it's got it in big old fat letters that are easy to read, okay? 1.3, universal supplies are labeled in English. That means it gotta have a label. The label is in English, and it's easy enough to read and understand. Y'all would be surprised. Again, depending on who you're dealing with. Sometimes you got proctors that are what I call overzealous, and they take off all that, and they like, all right, well, your universal supplies are you got universal supplies, you got it labeled in English, but also I can't read it. So you'll have a little sticker that's like this big that say universal supplies. Get you a sticker that's big enough. When you put on universal supplies, put it on all four sides. Okay. That way they can't say they didn't, they're not able to read it in English. This is where people be missing points. And people say, man, I set up, I didn't do nothing crazy. I did everything that I was supposed to and all this stuff. All right. But is your universal supplies labeled in the first place? They will take off points for that. All right. 1.4, items to be disinfected, soiled linens, and trash are disposed of in a correct manner throughout the section. Let's talk about this one. First of all, that means you got to have 3 bags, right? Items to be disinfected, soiled linens, trash. They got to be labeled on the sides. They got to be labeled in a way that the proctor can see it. They got to be labeled in a way that you can see it. That's the secret to this one. They have to be labeled in a way where you can see it and the proctor can see it. Here's what I mean by that. Here's where I'm going with this. All right. So let's say you got an item that is identified as trash, like a paper towel. If they see you throw something that is meant to be trash into items to be disinfected or soiled linens, they are taking off points. Every section, by the way, they are taking off points. If you have a comb that you use and you don't need to use it anymore, do not put it in the trash. Do not put it in soiled linens. That is an item to be disinfected. Throw it in that bag. And by the way, that bag for South Carolina needs to have trash bags in them because they say it in the CIB. So if you come with the bag, no trash bags in it, depending on who you're dealing with, they may take points off of that. If they want to be petty, they will. You just never know who your proctor is. You got some, they don't care. But you have some, they just like, oh, where your trash bag? Oh, okay. You know what that means? You wasn't reading your CIB. You wasn't paying attention to the directions that they gave on the CIB. And they consider that following directions. Reading the CIB and following the CIB is considered directions. All right. Not sure if you've seen, but the list also explains to bring supplies that aren't listed. Well, it just depends on what the supplies are that aren't listed. But what I'm saying is the ones that they're saying need to be listed, you need to be aware of to be listed, including items to be disinfected, soiled linens, and trash. Those need to be listed. The sanitizes hands with product labeled in English. All right, well, you're only going to sanitize your hands with hand sanitizer. So the sanitizer needs to be labeled in English. The universal supplies need to be labeled in English. So most of the stuff, whatever they saying on the CIB that needs to be labeled, you make sure you label that part. Okay. I want to talk some more about the items to be disinfected, soiled linens, and trash. Let me see if I can't find it up in here. Let's see. Okay. Yep. All right, here we go. Candidates will be evaluated on proper designation of materials that are disposed. Candidates are required in bold and underlined to bring and use the following supplies for the appropriate disposal of materials. A container labeled, labeled, you see what I'm saying? To be disinfected. Container labeled, soiled linens. Container labeled, trash. All right. And I don't remember where, but they also, somewhere in here, they used to talk about putting trash bags in there. They want the trash bags within the bags, okay? Because I'm telling you, I've seen people lose points off of that. Because they're like, well, how did I lose points off of this, that, and the third? And I asked them, I said, well, did everybody else bag have trash bags in them? And they was like, yeah. I said, did yours? And they was like, no. I said, I'm pretty sure somewhere along the way, they took off points for that. All right. Let's see. Yeah, that's one we'll explore for a different day. But yeah, I just want to make sure that you understand about the trash, soiled linens, all that good stuff. If you are using clippers, you need to put those once you're done. Again, it just depends on the directions that you're given. But all I'm saying is, if you got a soiled linen, don't put it in the trash. If you got items to be disinfected, don't put it in soiled linens, right? If you got something that's characterized as trash, don't put it in items to be disinfected. You can lose points by that. You will lose points by that. All right. Okay. The proctor, verbal instructions. Read if all candidates have stepped back to indicate they have completed the section before the timer has elapsed. All candidates have indicated they have completed this section of the exam. We will now proceed. So your proctor, that's what you expect your proctor to say. All right. Read if the timer goes off before all candidates have stepped back. They're going to tell you to stop working. Whenever they tell you to stop working, stop working. Okay. If you almost done with that little bitty piece of that last part of that last section and they say stop working, stop working. You're going to lose more points by trying to finish that little piece than you are if you just stop working. You would be surprised how less of points you lose when you stop working than if you're trying to hurry up and finish. Don't hurry up and finish. It's like them smelling blood. They know they know what they're doing. They know what they're looking for. All right. These are all things. These are I'm trying to go over the things that you may not think about that you will lose points on. And you say, okay, now that I'm aware of that, I know how to proceed. Not only with doing the process of the section, but whatever subtleties that they're looking for. All right. You just want to show them that not only do you know what to do, but you have read this, which is something that you would be surprised. A lot of candidates have no, they may get, I know OJTs didn't have got 1,920 hours. And out of 1,920 hours, I ask them, okay, well, what does your CIB say? And they say, what is that? I'm like, wait a minute. You done went through 1,920 hours and you don't know what the handbook say. You don't know what the CIB say. You don't even know what the CIB is. You need to go over that. You need to go over that verbatim all day, every day. Like I said, the more you're in tune with your CIB, the more confident you can be going into the test. All right. That being said, if you or anybody that you know can use my services, everybody knows somebody that's trying to be a barber, that's going to barber school. They got different parts of their journey. Some of them just starting, some of them about to take the test, some of them have taken the test and they failed. Any of those ones that can use my help, I have paid classes. Past Barber Theory, Past Barber Practical is going to become available soon. And I will have a Black Friday sale where I break it up in the pieces, and you can get a bunch of these classes for a deep discount. You still got to pay though. You still got to pay. They are pre-recorded, but they deal with all the pertinent information that you need. We go in depth for the practical, both of with the CIB. We go into depth like we did today. All of that stuff is on there. I have interviews with people that take their test, like right after they take their test. So we go through all of that, all pertinent information, processes, systems, everything you need to go into the test with confidence and pass with confidence. I have all of that stuff. It's available. Like I said, you're going to have to pay for it. All right. You can find me all social media platforms at Pierre Huey, Pierrehouey. Yeah, that's that, man. Happy Friday to you guys. I will see you guys Monday. We will talk about barber theory. We'll talk about scientific concepts. All right. Enjoy the rest of y'all weekend. Peace.